Hello, my name is Patrick Bolmer. I'm the co-founder at Halo Consulting. I'm joined by Brad Beiermann, a former candidate and client. Brad started his career as an engineer, has experience as an engineering and technology leader at major enterprises like Oracle, as well as startups that have been successfully acquired like Kapow. Brad's currently the VP of Technology at Everspring, the ed tech leader that provides colleges and universities with the tech they need to operate in a virtual first environment. Brad, I just provided a very bare bones introduction there. Can you give our viewers an idea of where you started your career and how you ultimately came to Everspring?
I started off really in electrical engineering. I was an electrical designer. I got involved with sensors, microcircuits, and embedded controls programming, worked for companies such as Honeywell and Cherry Electric and Illinois Tool Works and folks like that. So that's where my career started. And education-wise, I had a bachelor's in electrical engineering. I went into manufacturing as a master's degree, and then later went for higher education, PhD in management information systems. So you kind of track that. And so after I had been in traditional engineering for a while, I ended up going into more of the online world, particularly around the Dotcom boom era, and got to ride the whole wave there with that, and got very familiar with not only the whole premise of the web commerce and what makes the engine turn on that, but also how that impacted businesses and that. So over the years, I've ran my own company, my own consulting firm. I've had online businesses as well, but I've also worked for a lot of outstanding organizations too. You mentioned a couple there. Brightstar was also one of them here, which we had a really good team on here. But today it's Everspring, and Everspring is education technology. And we are based in Chicago, and we serve the higher education market with online program management, strategic planning, their marketing. Some people call it online program management, if you will, but we also get involved with instructional design, continuing education, and really a lot of the enrollment and student services that would typically be handled on the campus. We take a lot of that. So we're very much a key partner with a lot of the institutions and that, and helping them navigate their way online with a lot of the technologies, and we provide that for them.
What keeps you up at night as an engineering leader these days?
That's a really good question you ask here, because I would say, more lately, probably the changing economic headwinds we're seeing. Hiring, of course, is one of the things, but with the change in economy here, one of the things I've been watching for is some sudden dramatic vendor price increases, and SaaS vendors who are quote zombie companies that are surviving very much on capital infusions, venture capital and things, and have not really become profitable. If you have companies like that are vendors for you, want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on them, because if they suddenly run into a cash shortage, a lot of them don't have cash on hand. That's going to be the big word going on here, is how much cash on hand, not so much valuation of what you got on paper for stock. It's what do you have for cash on hand? Can you continue your operations? I don't want to get a call or an email from one of the vendors one day saying, yeah, we didn't get any additional capital, we're not profitable, and we've got to go. And now you're left as a leader to figure out, I've got to go find a replacement for that. And that's one of the things I would say, something to keep an eye on. It's kind of a longer term thing, but I think in the consumer market, you've seen things like companies such as Uber, who's had some significant price increases going on as they're trying to figure out their revenue model and that. And so, that also applies to a lot of vendors you may be working with. So if something keeps me up at night, it's probably that unknown right there.
How does the market that we're in today compare to the .com market, and any major similarities or differences from your perspective?
I've been through 3 of these total my career. In fact, when I graduated college, I entered into a recessionary period. So maybe that's 3.5. A lot of the similarities I would say would be just how we're in a boom era and the hiring practices and the way the market kind of works, and that a lot of similarities with that. You have folks that we've rode this wave here for quite a while now with a lot of the way the economy is, with a lot of cash infusions and quantitative easing that we've seen. So lots of free flowing cash here, jobs galore, okay, very low unemployment and hard to find folks, very similar to what we had in the dot-com. And then suddenly things kind of changed right there. And you can see this pivot point that goes on with maybe an oncoming recession, the layoffs show up. There's a lot of talk about that, and pretty soon folks find themselves in a market that they've never experienced before, where they've got to compete with a lot of other candidates that show up with a lot of great skills because they were let go. And so we haven't quite entered in that. We're still very much at a very low unemployment number, which is fantastic, but the rumblings are out there. As inflation continues to grind at demand, labor is usually a lagging indicator by about 6 months or so. So we'll see what happens, but that pattern has, what's leading up to it looks very similar to what I saw a couple times. So we'll see what happens.
You navigated or made the decisions around when to hire full-time offshore or nearshore, and has that approach changed with the market swings over the past few years?
A mix of onshore and nearshore, and offshore probably forever, kind of those three camps right there. And I would say what has changed here is we have folks here domestically, we have folks over in India that we're working with, and then we have folks in South America that we're working with. And as I talk to some of our vendors, our contractors, and that they're seeing folks who want to be compensated in different ways. They don't necessarily take US dollars. Some of them have wanted to be compensated in crypto. And as I talk to them, I say, well, maybe we'll get one or two candidates that want that. I was talking to somebody here just a couple of months ago. They said now a third of them would like to be a mix of crypto and US dollars. This is particularly in South America and Latin America. Now, I know there's been a downturn here with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of those others, but it's still very much there. So interesting dynamics in terms of how international compensation comes about with some of those folks.
One thing that everybody is curious about is just where the Web 3.0 kind of market or industry is trending. Any thoughts from your perspective on what, if anything, has changed with the trajectory of Web 3.0 technologies since the recent price downturns for a lot of the cryptos out there?
Of it, we're talking, cryptography, blockchain technology, and that. And the exciting thing about that, no matter where I would say that the financial part of virtual currencies go, at the core of it is still a blockchain technology, which has found its way into other areas that are really intriguing. Particularly, I find some of the blockchain databases that have like an immutable ledger going with them. One of them that comes to mind is the Amazon Quantum Ledger database, QLDB, is one of those types of projects that it provides this whole immutable type of ledger, and so that gives you a kind of a new layer of security with it, and that it finds its way in there. And I would say that another one too that has come to the forefront a lot is artificial intelligence, the AI field. It's nothing new. That's been around for a long time, but it has certainly matured its way into some unique use cases, I would say, particularly how we do the web. One of the tools we started using this past year was called Applitools, and it has this feature called AI, I as in the eyeball, take a look at a web page and spot any changes, kind of like an A versus B, any changes in a comparison, what might have changed on a web page that might have slipped by one of our QA folks or just somebody casually looking at it. That type of technology has found its way into the field for really some unique applications in that too. So still very much exciting things. Just because the economy shifts or anything, the technologies don't go away. The companies and names may change, but it's still marches on forward. Just very similar to the .com area. The players that were happening in the .com, the names changed over the years, but some of them stayed solid. Hey, look at it today. Amazon is still very much here with us and is a big player out there with their AWS service.
How do you maintain a strong culture across the distributed engineering team, and where do you see the future of hybrid work going ultimately?
It seems to be an evolving area, and it depends on, I think, some of the companies that are out there. But for us at Everspring, we have been kind of embracing a hybrid type office where we go in like once a week. And when I say we, it's mostly, we're based in Chicago, so a lot of our Chicago-centric folks will go into the office like once a week and get together, and we'll converse and that. But if anything has shown us, the pandemic has definitely given us a demonstration that this work remote thing is definitely has a success component to it. Long term, I think we'll see where it goes as far as the actual office. That because you have to realize when you have a hybrid and people come into the office, that some people coming in, that doesn't necessarily mean the entire company is there. But we've been doing some things that we call All-Star Tuesdays and Venture Out Fridays. And our engineering manager on our team, Amanda Bolander, she's kind of spearheads some of those activities, and they've been a hit. One of those activities that I mentioned, All-Star Tuesday, we just take somebody on our team, we kind of do an interview with them. We'll ask them various questions, like, are you a good dancer? Are you a good cook? If you had a talk show, who'd be your first guest and stuff? And we've really discovered some folks, not only with our newer employees, but people we worked with for quite a while at this kind of like, I didn't know that really existed with you. So again, a remote activity, but kind of a bonding activity to get to know folks. So exciting things. And that was something we wouldn't have done before. But it's good stuff. We're really enjoying it. So it's a mix, kind of a little bit in the office, a little bit online, and just making sure that all that is going forward.
Really great specific examples there. And if I had a talk show, Brad, you would be my first guest.
You're very kind. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anything you'd like to say or talk about in terms of the work you're doing at Everspring or personally?
Yeah, for Everspring, we are certainly in the higher education market, and here's one of these things where it's a counter-cyclical market, and so as the unemployment rate goes low, you don't have as many folks that are out there looking to get the degree, that little bit of extra training or credentials that they need to get the job. When we see unemployment numbers really low, under 3% or something, you've got employers out there that says, hey, if you breathe air and got a pulse, you're hired. Flip that script around. We hit a recession, lots of folks get laid off. They are out searching for a job and are now seeing some requirements for skills that they might not have. And they're competing against other folks now that didn't exist in the market and need the training. So when you get into that kind of decline, here's where we go counter-cyclical and we start to see enrollments start going way up for this. People need to retool themselves. So we're very excited about how that might play out for us. But the part we're really excited about is the pandemic has brought about a lot of attention for really distance learning. A lot of universities that did not have a good online presence or didn't really manage their online programs very well, we've been able to step in that and be a leader. And we've really become known for the quality of program we have. If there's, I'd say over the years, if there was really a strong quality culture, it's been Everspring for sure. And our customers in the market knows that too. So we continue to drive with that and using some of the, like I mentioned earlier, the Web 3.0 technology. We always got our ear to the track, seeing what's coming next and get that implemented.
Really excited to see where you continue to take things. And thank you again for the time, Brad.
Yeah, likewise, Pat. Take care.